Okay. So today we're going to be talking about summer salads. And Kim is going to be doing the diabetic education for this, and our lovely Tina here is going to be doing our cooking demonstration. So, just a couple little housekeeping things. We offer closed captioning. So, if you need closed captioning or you like closed captioning, if you wiggle on the bottom of your screen, you'll see the CC option show up. If you click that, you will get the captions. And unfortunately, it's not 100% accurate. So, if there are any questions or something comes up weird or confusing, feel free to type it in the chat and we will try and clarify that. Um, as with all of our other classes, if you could keep yourself muted unless there is a conversation kind of chat going on, that would be great just to kind of help reduce that background noise. So if you have a question, feel free to type it in the chat, and we will do our best to answer that for you. So with that being said, quick little disclosure here: the information that you hear is intended as general health information, and it should not be used as a substitute for medical care or advice from your provider. So this is all some really good general information for you, but as with everything, if you have questions about your individual health needs, health goals, bring that to your medical care or provider. Okay, with that, I will let Tina and Kim take it away.
All right. Thank you, Isabel. Yes, thank you guys so much for being here. As you saw, our topic of conversation today is summer salads, which I think is just absolutely perfect for June 4th, with a forecast of 86 degrees here in Battle Creek. So I am looking forward to offering you guys these crisp, cool, refreshing salad recipes. I am going to be responsible for demonstrating these recipes with you today, walking you through how to make these very quick, easy go-to recipes. And Kim is going to really take on the education portion and kind of explain to you why these salads are diabetes friendly and how you can make other salads satisfying so you can continue on with your day until your next meal and also keep in control of your blood sugar. So we are going to start out with our chopped Mexican salad today. So you're seeing that on your screen right now, some of those ingredients that we're going to go over for our dressing and for our salad. We're going to look through those and work through those, assemble this beautiful chopped Mexican salad. This recipe is coming from the Diabetes Food Hub, which I would fully support as a great resource, as I'm sure Kim would as well. Diabetesfoodhub.org is from the American Diabetes Association, has got really good heart healthy, blood sugar friendly recipes. Thank you, Isabel, for putting that into the chat for us. We've just made a slight modification with this recipe. Kim's going to talk about the importance of having adequate fat and protein on our salads. And the way that this recipe was assembled initially, we just felt like it needed a little bit of oomph for protein. So we are adding just a little bit of chicken to this recipe as well. If you're following a vegetarian or vegan diet, you do not have to do that. You could replace it with an alternative, but we're making this chopped Mexican salad with a little bit of chicken. So we will go ahead and stop sharing that recipe now, and we will move on to assembling our chopped Mexican salad. So we are going to be starting with our dressing for our chopped Mexican salad. This dressing recipe is very simple with very easy, approachable ingredients. We are starting, if you are following with our recipe, with some lime juice. So I've already juiced out about 4 limes, which made me about half a cup of lime juice. And so we're making this very easy, a very tangy, kind of sweet and spicy sort of dressing to go on top of our salad. We're going to be using a little bit of olive oil, which is a really great cooking oil and a good oil to use for any sort of dressing for your salad. We have got a light tasting olive oil that we are going to use today. Very heart healthy, high in unsaturated fats, and has plenty of antioxidants to help prevent disease as well. So I've already got my half a cup of lime juice, and I'm just using a little mason jar for the sake of convenience. Going to pour all these ingredients in here, shake it up, and we'll be ready to go. And if we have extras, we can store that in our refrigerator. So we're going to do a quarter cup of olive oil into our mason jar here. And then we're just going to add a little spice with some crushed red peppers. If you don't like spice, you could omit this. I think that would be totally fine. We're only adding 1 teaspoon of our crushed red peppers. Or you could just do maybe a half a teaspoon, whatever your spice level and tolerance is. We've got about 3 cloves of minced garlic that we're going to add to our dressing as well. And then to offer just a little bit of sweetness, we're going to add a little honey. Again, add the amount of honey that is for your preferences and needs. We're only doing 1.5 tablespoons of honey for this whole entire recipe, which serves 8 people. So it really stretches quite a long way. So again, we're adding 1.5 tablespoons of honey. And then we're just gonna put that lid on and give it a good shake. Another way that I like to do dressings is in those like protein shaker bottles. Those blender bottles are a really good way to make a dressing. Easy kind of pour lid from it. Shake it up real good. And we've got ourselves a very simple, quick, tasty dressing that's gonna go on top of our salad. So dressing's done, let's move on. So if we're looking at the ingredients for our salad recipe, we are starting like a classic recipe with a dark green leafy vegetable. Today, we have got about 6 cups of chopped up romaine lettuce. If you don't like romaine, you could do an iceberg lettuce as well, just won't have as many of those nutrients. If you like a little bit of more texture, you could always go with a baby spinach as well. Any dark green leafy vegetable will work for this recipe depending upon your preferences. As I mentioned, we're going to add a little bit of chicken. So we've got our cooked chicken already. I just sauteed this, grilled it up a little bit. I've got probably about 8 or 9 ounces right now for our salad. So we're just going to plop that right on top of our salad. Again, a very quick, easy assembly recipe. Our next ingredient is going to be canned black beans. You could use dried beans if you wanted to. I'm using a can of black beans that are low sodium. Kim's going to talk about the importance of low sodium. This recipe or this can of beans actually only has 5 milligrams of sodium for every half a cup. I still went ahead and drained those out in my colander, rinsed them with some cold water to reduce that sodium and get that kind of liquid off of them already. So I've got my black beans that we're adding to our salad too. And again, we're kind of just putting these in like little sections to make it really pretty and colorful. And our next ingredient is jicama. Type in the chat for me if you've ever used jicama. To be honest, this was my first time. I had to go to a grocery store that I don't often go to find it. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to find it at the local Meijer. A very easy ingredient to work with, and oftentimes people will use jicama instead of a potato, and maybe Kim can talk about that a little bit as well. So this jicama, this is what it looks like when you're going to buy it in the grocery store. I just used my vegetable peeler, peeled it on the outside of it. A little bit harder to peel than a regular potato, but not impossible in any way. And then I've got a portion of the already kind of pre-chopped up jicama here. You can kind of see it looks just like a potato. It's got less starch in it, so a good alternative, and that's what we're going to add. It's really crisp and cool, kind of a bright ingredient. So we've got about 1 cup of already pre-diced jicama that we're going to add to our salad as well.
And while you're doing it, it looks like there's quite a few people that have never had jicama before, and then about 2 or 3 people that said yes, they love it.
All right. Well, I think you guys will love this. Sometimes people will chop up jicama into like a French fry style form and just roast it, bake it just like a French fry. And so that is what I hear most oftentimes people use with a jicama. But I tasted it this morning and I'm definitely going to enjoy it raw in the salad as well. All right. So that's our jicama. And then we're going to add a little corn. The corn is going to kind of provide some freshness. You can do canned corn if you want, again, focusing on low sodium. I am actually going to be adding a corn relish. That is what I had available. So I'm doing a corn relish, which has some red peppers and some onions in it. And I'm just going to add about 1 cup here. That's really going to add a nice brightness to the salad too. So we've got about 1 cup of corn or corn relish is what I'm using today. You could use frozen if you wanted to too, having that thawed and available. And then our next ingredient is going to be a red bell pepper. You're really starting to notice this is quite a colorful salad, which I love about this. We've got 1 red bell pepper. If you wanted to mix this up and do red, yellow, and orange, that would only just increase the nutrients and the antioxidants in your recipe. And then we've got some avocados. Do we have any avocado lovers in the class today? Yum. So I've got some avocado already diced up for me today. And so I'm just going to add that green, and that's going to really provide some creaminess. And my bowl may not be big enough. This is popping over. That is going to be delicious. So if you've never done the avocado before, if there's anybody in class that's not done avocado before, I simply have already kind of sliced it in half till I get to that pit, and then used my knife to go all the way around that pit. And then you can just turn it and open it right up. Do you want to remove the pit? I simply just use a knife, and this pit was actually quite small, so I'm going to use my spoon because it's already broken. And you're going to want to remove the pit. And then a really easy way to just dice this avocado up right in its peel is to simply just use your knife and go right down the line of your avocado. Go long ways and then widthwise. And then you can just use your spoon to go on the outside of that peel, and you'll get these little perfect diced pieces already. So we've already got enough avocado in there. I won't add more, but just an easy trick to use your avocado. And then last but not least, we got to have a little cheese, right? So we're going to add in just a little bit of cheese. We're going to pour our dressing over, give it a little toss, and then I will turn it over to Kim. So we're just going to add about ½ a cup of cheese, which probably doesn't like a whole lot for this recipe, but we've got lots of other ingredients listed there as well already in our salad. Let's see if I can get this open now.
While you're working on opening that up, there is a question. Can you omit husband hates avocado?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. It does provide a bit of a creaminess. And so Kim is going to talk to us about the importance of having that fat on this salad recipe. So we'll have to brainstorm some ideas on how we might be able to compensate and add that fat to the recipe so we can still keep us satisfied until our next meal, which is always the challenge, I think, with a salad recipe. So we're just pouring that dressing over. Give it a good toss.
And while
And
you're
then I
tossing that,
will,
I had a question for you, Tina. Can you remind us how much of the sliced red pepper is in that salad and how much of the diced avocado is in that salad?
yeah, so I used 2 avocados and I used 1 whole red bell pepper.
Okay.
And I'm just going to continue tossing this while we turn it over to Kim to start off with some education.
All right. All right, Kim, let me get my screen sharing again. Just give me 1 second. All right, can you all see my screen?
Yep, we can see your screen.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All right, then you can take it away, Kim. Go ahead.
Okay, so let's move on to the next slide to the agenda. Okay, thank you, Isabel. All right, welcome everybody. Again, my name is Kim House. I am a diabetes educator, so anything diabetes. I happen to be a registered dietitian, so anything food related. Excited to have you today. And coming from South Haven, 81 degrees today. This is perfect summer salads. So the agenda today is talking about nutrients, balance and nutrients with diabetes, talking a little bit about highlighting carbs and foods, proteins and foods, fat and foods. Are these recipes balanced? Some swaps and modifications, and then what is the benefit of salads to diabetes? So what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about the first recipe. We'll hand it over to Tina to talk about the second recipe, and then you'll come back to me. So let's move on to the next slide, Isabel. All right, so there's 3 nutrients important for our health, especially for us that have diabetes. The first one is carbs. The second one is protein. And the third one is fat. So when we look at a mixed meal on the next slide that has both the carbs, fats, and proteins, you have balance, that highlighted word. When you mix a meal with carbs, protein, and fat, you have balance and it keeps our blood sugars stable. So when you look at this picture on this slide and you mix foods that have carbs, fats, and proteins that we'll look at next, your blood sugars will be straight across that darker line. But when you pick out meals, we'll keep it on that slide, Isabel. When you have meals that are just carb, or when you have meals that are just fat, or when you have meals that are just protein, you might have a spike in blood sugar. So if you guys can see this, that roller coaster, that really tall roller coaster, right? That's what happens to our blood sugar. So if you ever woke up with a blood sugar and then you ate a meal and it spiked, you might think back, boy, all I might have had was maybe like a granola bar, or maybe I had something like it could have been a piece of fruit, or it could have been just like a Slim Jim. It was just one nutrient. It wasn't a good mix and balance. So our blood sugar spiked. But when we take and we mix all of these nutrients together, we have a nice straighter line, which is that darker line across. So not to get confused, we're talking about salads today. So I'm going to highlight, what are we talking about these nutrients? So let's go to the next slide. So when we talk about carbs, carbs are a source of sugar from all of our food groups we come to love. So when we think about grains, anything that grows in the ground, our wheat, our breads, our rices, our pastas, anything that comes from, barley, rye, our fruit from our trees, fruit in the ground, our dairy, that source of lactose, our beans from the fields, lentils, our starchy vegetables like our potatoes in the ground and our lovely corn. These are all sources of carbs. A lot of them have a bad rapport, but they do provide our body energy in all sorts of ways. So I want to make sure you understand these highlighted sources of carbs. As we move along, we've got to remember that these are a source of one of our nutrients, carbs. When we move to the next slide, we're going to think about protein. Oops. Let's go to protein. Let's go to the next slide. All right, protein. These are our animal and plant sources. So our chicken, our fish, our even our non-animal protein, plant like beans, chickpeas, cheese, eggs, seafood, fish. So these are things we can add to salads, right? and help balance our meals as well. And then our last source of nutrients that we help balance meals is our fat, our fatty fish, our omega-3s and our oils and our butters, sunflower oils, our seeds, olive oil, canola oil, you name it. So when we come to our last slide here, our nutrients want to fly away. Does this chopped Mexican salad meet all the criteria for a balanced meal? So let's check it out. Let's check out these ingredients. All right, so let's think about the carbs. Where do we come to check off these carbs that are as an ingredient in the salad? The lime juice that Tina added is a source of carbs. So let's add in the lime juice. So that's a source of carbs that should come up. Okay. The next one is the honey. Okay. The black beans are a source of carbs, right? Those are a good protein, but they're such a good source of fiber, right? So black beans. We've also got the jicama. Now the jicama is an awesome source of fiber. People also use it as like a cabbage in their salad. They'll add it like a source of similarity to like cabbage, that similar mouthfeel. We've also got corn, like she had the corn salsa. Salsa, Tina? Was that salsa, corn salsa, corn relish?
Corn relish.
And then we've got some cheese, like the lactose in the cheese. So we've got some sources of carb in there. So when you look at the recipe, she had done some of those nutrient analysis on there. We do have some carb in that recipe, and that's okay. That will help to give us some of that energy that our body needs to sustain until the next meal. Carbs always raise our blood sugar. So to balance with those carbs, we also need protein. So you remember we added some protein to that. She said we need some robust protein. We added some chicken, so we can check off that chicken, but there was also black beans. Those are actually a 2-for-1. They're a carb, but they're such a robust protein. So we've got a 2-for-1 in there. We've got them for carb and a protein. So we've got good balance there. We did add some great healthy fats. If you remember, we added some olive oil in the dressing, and then avocado. Now, some of us don't like avocado, right? One of you had asked, can we just leave that out? And that's okay. We can leave that out, but we must have some healthy fats in there. Can any of you think of a substitute you can throw in the chat for an avocado in salad? It adds that creaminess, of course. Nuts. It's an awesome source. It's not the same creaminess, but what else could we add? Sour cream. Okay. Anyone else? Isabel or Tina, can you think of any healthy fat to add? What about like a cottage cheese?
Yeah, maybe a cottage cheese, or I was thinking like a little bit of a combination, like to add a little bit more flavor, like a little salsa and some plain Greek yogurt.
Yeah.
Maybe combining that together and
Yeah.
drizzling over top, maybe as a substitute for like the honey lime dressing instead.
I love that. I might have seen some seeds too. Love that. Hummus, excellent. So you can, okay, so we're going to talk about versatility at the very end, like salad benefits. Look at all these ideas. Versatile, like you could just change it up. So love it. This chopped Mexican salad can help manage your blood sugars. It can definitely be a balanced meal and allow you to have this as a meal and sustain you until you have your next meal. There's lots of versatility that we'll talk about at the end. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, the last but not least thing. There's one more thing, Isabel, in this. Okay, go ahead and add a couple more non-starchy vegetables. They are robust. The romaine lettuce and the red bell peppers, those are just so much fiber and so many nutrients. It's unbelievable in here. Color, it's awesome. Okay. Swaps and modifications. This is numerous in this recipe. As Tina was saying, low sodium. You can buy low sodium beans, or you can buy beans on sale that aren't low sodium and just rinse them to the hills. Anything canned, friends, you can just run it under cold water. Buy them, store them, open them up, and just rinse them under cold water. You can buy the no salt added. It doesn't mean it's salt free. It's just that they didn't add salt, extra salt, and still just put them under cold water and then add it to the recipe and do what you need to do with it. Fresh is always better. Canned and processed is obviously a process. But if you've got a budget, buying canned is fine. Store the cans, buy things on sale, buy in bulk. Rinse them if you need to. Remove any skins. Tina probably removed some visible fat she saw on the skin, on the chicken, any fat. Rinse any of the meat. Brown the pan, any browning, wipe out the pan, any additional fat. Use any fresh herbs, any spices, avoiding using extra salt. Get fancy, adding things that you might not normally try. You can vary the substitute. Who would try who might try something different than honey? Maybe like agave, like throw in the chat, what might you try instead of honey and to sweeten it? Like Tina said, you can vary the heat using the crushed red pepper. Maybe you might try something different than the crushed red pepper itself. You might not like romaine, so you might use a different green, like arugula, or you might just have to use what you have in your drawer. You can vary the protein, chicken, steak, eggs, tofu, maybe different beans. Vary the vegetables. There's red bell peppers, but maybe vary the color of the bell peppers. And even the cheeses, get some feta, and you could do all sorts of things. What do we got in the chat there, Isabel?
We have some people saying that as far as the honey goes, they would leave it out, or they would use agave nectar. They would use mixed greens instead of the romaine. They would use chopped onion instead of garlic. And then we also had someone say that they would add fruit to their salad as well.
Sure. Now, before we turn it over to Tina, when you look at the nutrient analysis on the bottom of the recipe, what we like to do is when we say balance, this is a key. When the carbs and the protein on a recipe are about the same, it's a balanced meal. So if we're going to start looking at changing up those carbs and those protein modifications, keeping that to be about the same would be ideal. So it's a great recipe. I love all these ideas. So I think I'm all set. But the question is, can a salad be made without using lettuce? Can we do this?
All right, so I have a poll for you all. So I'm gonna put the poll on the screen, and then you'll see some answers come up, and you can click either yes or no, or you can type it in the chat, whatever looks good to you. Give you guys just a few more seconds to throw your answers in here. All right, let's see. You guys are all right on it. Yes, they definitely can be made without using lettuce. Okay, I think you're up, Tina.
Sounds good. So we are going to move on to our tuna boats now. We are going to make a tuna salad, right? Because not all salad has to be based around some sort of dark green leafy vegetable. We can make things like a tuna salad or a chicken salad, which maybe you might think of feeling a little bit heavier of a salad. It's not as light as this chopped Mexican salad, it's full of those non-starchy vegetables that Kim was referring to. But we are going to lighten up this tuna salad. We are going to stick it inside a non-starchy vegetable. And this is going to be another one of those blood sugar friendly recipes. So while you guys are actually taking a look at the tuna boat recipe on your screen right now, look at the bottom where that nutrition facts information is listed. You see calories, you see fat, you see sodium, carbs, and protein. Let's think back to what Kim was just referring to when we're looking at the nutrition facts information. She said we want those carbs and that protein to be balanced. So we've got 28 grams of carbohydrate, yes, and 20 grams of protein. That is a pretty even balance on this recipe. That is what she is referring to. If you're looking at the chopped Mexican salad, that was 26 grams carb, 32 grams protein with the chicken added to it. Again, that is a pretty balanced recipe. So when you're looking at your nutrition facts information, balance out those carbs and protein for a blood sugar friendly recipe. So we're going to walk through this tuna boat. We can go ahead and remove that from the screen and we will start looking at this recipe. And I have dished out, maybe you guys saw me on camera, I have dished out this chopped Mexican salad. It is tasty. I like a little spice, so that crushed red pepper was good for me. But if you're a little bit more sensitive, you might want to decrease from 1 teaspoon to maybe half a teaspoon, and that might be just the level of spiciness that you are looking for. So that is colorful and balanced and blood sugar friendly. So that is a beautiful salad. All right, tuna boats. I personally love this recipe. Isabel knows that. We are doing a tuna salad recipe today that is a little outside the norm. Typically, when you are looking at a tuna salad, you're thinking tuna and you're thinking some sort of mayo or Miracle Whip. But instead, we are going to use that high plant-based protein, high fiber bean source to kind of create that creaminess without using a mayonnaise or a Miracle Whip. And Kim was also referring to thinking about how we can add additional flavors to our recipes without using the salt shaker. Even though our recipe today does have a little added salt, I'm actually going to omit it because we are going to be using some lemon juice in this recipe that's really going to create a nice brightness to the recipe and accentuate those bold flavors. We've got a little sodium already in the Dijon mustard that we are going to use. And we're adding green onions, which is going to add this nice little bite and a different flavor again to add flavor without sodium. So let's go ahead and get started with our tuna boats. We are going to make this tuna salad and we are going to stuff a cucumber. That is what our boat is going to be, is a cucumber. I've already got one cucumber already sliced up and seeded out. Has anybody done this with cucumbers, made little boats before? Type it in the chat. So I went around and with my cucumber, simply use my vegetable peeler. All right, I see a yes, very good. Never, okay, I hope you try it. I use my vegetable peeler and I'm just going around and I'm just making slices off of that cucumber, really just for decoration and no other reason, just making it a little bit prettier. So every 1/4 inch or so, we're just making a little slice just to create a little decoration. Sometimes people do this with their cucumbers on their salads too, just to add a little bit of visual interest to it. So we've gone around and rotated and done every other sort of style with a vegetable peel. And then we're just going to remove our ends And I won't do this whole entire thing since I already have a cucumber ready for us. But I like to cut it in half. I think it's just a little bit easier to work with when trying to cut and seed out this cucumber. So I've cut my cucumber in half, and then I'm going to cut lengthwise again. So lengthways, I'm going to cut out this cucumber. And then I am going to use my spoon to simply remove all of the seeds. You only really need to go as deep as the seeds are. You still want a good structure to your boat to hold that tuna salad for you. So you're just simply just removing those seeds, and I'm actually just gonna do it over here. So we're
Well,
simply just
Tina,
Say it again.
someone said that they like to use bell pepper boats and using red or orange peppers instead of the cucumber. And then someone said that they tried once, but they did not like the recipe, but they were excited to give this one a try.
Okay, very good. Yes. And you'll see if you're looking at the tuna boat recipe, I have a little note there at the bottom that says, maybe I hear a lot of people are not huge fans of cucumbers, which surprises me. But if you're not a big fan of cucumber, you can use many other vegetables as your boat instead. You could fill up a raw zucchini, right? Again, removing all of the interior seeds from the zucchini. You could also stuff one of those peppers that you were referring to, and you could just go classic tuna salad inside a tomato. You can always stuff your tomato too. So we've got ourselves a nice little boat structure here in our cucumber. So that is how we made our tuna boat. So that is done. Moving on, we are gonna start making our tuna salad. So to start off, we have got some white beans. I am using a white kidney bean. The black beans that I were using earlier were low sodium, but I could not find any low sodium cannellini beans or white kidney beans. Instead, I went ahead and bought those, and as Kim said, rinse them to the hills, I think is what she said, and that is what I did. So I have got my canned white beans here, and I just want to do a little comparison. Earlier, I told you a half a cup of black beans was 5 milligrams of sodium. Half a cup of these that are not low sodium, 410 milligrams of sodium. So big difference if we're able to purchase low sodium. But again, if not, we drain them, we rinse them, we reduce that sodium content by about 40%. So we could say maybe 200 milligrams. Again, I'm not adding extra salt because I know I'm getting a little extra salt from my beans, and I'm getting a little extra salt from my Dijon mustard. So we've got our white kidney beans. We're just adding that to our bowl. These white beans are really nice to use because they're a soft bean. And with that soft bean creates that creaminess. So we're just going to use our fork and we're just mashing down those beans a little bit. I don't mind a little chunkiness from the beans in my tuna salad, but we're just going to mash up at least half of them to create that creaminess and maybe leave a little bit whole as well. So as we are mashing up those beans, we're also going to be adding in our green onions, a little bit of lemon juice, and our Dijon mustard. And then of course, we can't forget our tuna. So this is what I'm deciding on. If you can see that, we've got some creaminess in our beans, but again, I am good with leaving some of those whole as well. All right. We are going to add our green onions. I've got 2 green onions already chopped. Again, this is adding flavor without extra sodium. It's going to add a nice crunch. If you don't like green onions, which I actually appreciate about this recipe because I don't usually have celery on hand, but you could do celery instead. You could also add more cucumbers instead. If you didn't like the green onions or the celery, you could just dice up some extra cucumber and throw that in there as well. Then we've got 1 can of tuna. This is a no salt added tuna that I was able to purchase. This tuna is a skipjack tuna, or a light tuna would also be appropriate. A light tuna or a skipjack has the least amount of mercury content in your tuna. So we're just going to add a can of that. We're going to add our olive oil. Again, that heart-healthy fat that we used in the last recipe as well. We're doing 1 tablespoon olive oil. Again, this is helping create that creaminess in the recipe without the mayo or the Miracle Whip. We're going to add a little tanginess with a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. And we're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of some black pepper. Again, I'm not adding salt because we have salt sources otherwise. And now we're just going to mix that up. And I forgot the lemon still. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of lemon to really brighten up this recipe. I forgot to zest my recipe or my lemon, so feel free to do that as well. But I don't think I'm going to completely miss it.
Somebody was wondering if there is a good substitute for Dijon mustard.
You could totally just do yellow mustard instead. Fresh dill, she says as well. That would be a good substitute. You could just do regular yellow mustard. Kim, do you have any other insight?
I feel like you, excuse me, I feel like you could do yellow mustard, but I feel like that would be missing the tang. Seasoning of sorts.
All right, so look at that tuna salad. It is healthy, it is creamy. We're gonna just throw a couple of tablespoons here into a boat. Get that on a plate and let Kim finish up her education.
And right before you put them on the tray or on the plate, a couple of questions. Someone said they could use honey mustard maybe instead in this recipe. And then somebody asked if you could use lemon pepper in the recipe and lemon zest.
Yes.
Yum.
Yes, absolutely. Lemon pepper. I think the one thing I always get caught with the lemon pepper is checking my nutrition facts label, because some lemon pepper seasonings have a lot of extra added sodium. So I think that would be the only thing that I would say as far as a word of caution is concerned, but that sounds absolutely delicious as well. So again, tuna salad without mayo or Miracle Whip, heart healthy with the olive oil. We've got low sodium seasonings listed in there. We've got packed in fiber, packed in protein, and we've filled up when getting some vegetables with our non-starchy cucumbers sitting there. We could do tomatoes, we could do bell peppers, we could do zucchini. So I'm going to pass it back over to Kim, finish us off.
Okay, so let's check off our list here. So remember, grains, fruits, dairy, beans, lentils, and starchy vegetables contain our carb group for the energy. The next slide is our protein food sources, which is our animal and plant sources for our protein, and our fat is our omega-3s and our oils and nuts and seeds. So let's check off this tuna boat recipe. So for our carbs, like Tina was mentioning, let's make sure we're going to manage our blood sugars by eating this recipe. So it is our white beans is our main source of carb. There is some lemon in there that we would take care of for our carbs. All right, to balance that out would be our protein. That would be our tuna and our white beans, the 2 for 1. All right, and also not last but not least is our fat nutrient. Let's not forget our little bit of olive oil we have in there for part of that creaminess. And then those non-starchy vegetables, boy, are part of that boat is our cucumbers. And then we've added some green onion in there, like Tina has put, but she said we can add more cucumbers, some celery. And so really as a managed blood sugar balanced meal. So let's talk about the swaps and modifications. Again, low sodium would be the ideal purchase. When we look at those beans, no salt added, low sodium, or just give it a good rinse. Fresh vegetables would be ideal. Cucumbers, peel them, slice them like she said, rinse the beans, rinse the tuna. We could have done that, but she bought it in water, so that's a good idea. Spices and herbs, it's always a good idea to buy those fresh versus the salt shaker, but she became very cognizant of using minimal salt. Vary the vegetables in the boat. We talked about that. But what about the boat? What can we use as the boat? She talked about instead of the cucumber, she had mentioned bell pepper, raw zucchini, bed of lettuce. Go back to the old school salad, right? What else could we put in there instead of tuna as the protein? Lots of different things. So we can be so versatile in the seasonings, in the veggies that we're adding in that boat, or what we're using as the base of this recipe. So it's so, so good. Isabel, did you have anything pop in before I turn?
I did. I was just about to say someone.
What's that?
In the chat, somebody says, how much does 1 tablespoon honey mustard substitute throw off the sugar?
Honey mustard. Ooh, good question. Usually when I make like a homemade honey mustard, I'm doing like kind of a half and half, like a tablespoon of honey, a tablespoon of like yellow mustard. So we would be adding a little more carb to this recipe. So a little bit more. I wouldn't probably be too I mean, it's not too concerning if that's your
I would,
desire, I would
yeah,
say.
wouldn't you say it probably only increases the carb maybe by 5 grams or
It's not
so?
much because you're
It's
spreading it over, like Tina said, like 8 servings. It's not increasing it that much. Yeah. Any other questions before we talk about the benefit of salads? Okay. So the salad benefit, like what is this benefit to having salads as a thing for diabetes? They are so fiber rich. So if you do not know, fiber is a carbohydrate. So when we talk about carbs and this grams on all of this nutrients and why would we have carbs as a person with diabetes? It is such a good carb. Fiber is a good carb for us with diabetes. It is heart healthy. It is a heart healthy carb. It is a very cholesterol lowering source of carb. Salad is healthy. It is protein packed, as we've seen through chicken, we've seen through beans, we've seen through tuna. We can add nuts. We can add different things with protein. It can be an all-in-one meal, carbs, protein, and fats. It can be quick. Look at that. Tina made 2 recipes, each about 10 to 15 minutes talking at the same time. They can be so convenient, some fresh ingredients, some canned. It's 8 servings, so guess what? We can eat them again. We can package them back up and have them another meal. And why are we here? Blood sugar friendly. They can help manage your blood sugar. They can help manage our weight. They're very calorie friendly. We're portioned. And when you look at these she's showing you they're colorful. That's meaningful when we go eat a meal. They're colorful, they're light. On these 80-degree days, we need something light. And all we've talked about is how versatile these are. If we need something a little sugar, a little sweeter, a little tangier, a little spicier, a little crunchier, we can do that. If we're watching our sodium more, if we're watching our protein more, we can do that. So guys, salads, you've got 2 more recipes under your wings, and we were so excited to help you with that today. So I'll turn it over to Isabel.
Okay, so we have about 5-ish more minutes for a Q&A. So if there are any questions, feel free to type them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself if that is easier to ask your question, and we will do our best to answer your questions for you. If you do not, we hope that you have a wonderful day, but we'll stay on here for next couple of minutes for any Q&As that you may have.
And while people are thinking about any additional questions, I know you guys popped them in as we were going along, so we appreciate that as well. We could move forward and talk about the other slides while you guys are thinking about your questions. And that is how to find any care and help here at Bronson. As you know, Kim mentioned herself as a registered dietitian and certified diabetes education care specialist at Bronson South Haven Diabetes Education. And so if you are ever looking for more help or a referral on diabetes education or individualized nutrition therapy, you can talk to your primary care provider and get a referral to any one of our Bronson Diabetes Education locations. We are located in South Haven, Battle Creek, and Portage. And so that is always an option. Talk to your primary care provider if you're looking for more individualized information. Of course, we love to be able to offer you these diabetes cooking clubs as well. All right, Isabel, any questions?
Yeah, we had one pop up in the chat. They had said, when my husband has a chef's salad for dinner, his sugar drops too much in the middle of the night. What should he do differently?
Great question.
All right. I'm supposedly thinking that goes towards me. Chef salad, so ensure there is some sort of carb that is going to provide him some of that energy to stabilize that blood sugar. If it's all protein, that isn't going to give him all of what he needs to sustain him till his next meal. So ensure there is some sort of carb.
So thinking about a chef salad, right? Usually like turkey, a hard-boiled egg, avocado, cheese, maybe a little ham too. Those are all heavy protein sources, which is good and fine. But we don't have that carbohydrate that again turns into sugar. That's not a bad thing, right? Because that's our primary fuel source. But we want that fiber source too. So think about maybe adding a bean to that chef salad, or maybe having a serving of fruit on the side to go along with that salad so you get that high fiber carb source.
Thank you, Tina.
Yeah.
And then we don't have any more questions so far, but there are a lot of people mentioning they are very excited to try these. One of our participants said that they were going to try it tonight. And just thank you so much. Great job. So we don't have any other questions, but those are kind of what people are saying. And we have about 2 more minutes if there's any last minute questions. If there are no last minute questions, just a little slide to leave you with about finding care and help at Bronson. So on your screen, you'll see bunch of phone numbers and emails. These are all up here for your use. If you're looking for a doctor or searching for a specialist, you can call Bronson Care Advisors. Number is right there, or you can visit our website. My Chart Help, if you have any questions regarding anything that comes through on your My Chart, there's a My Chart Health Answers from Bronson, and you can call their number there, or you can email them as well. Yeah, patient billing help. If you have any questions or concerns about a bill, feel free to give their phone number a call. And then if you need to get any type of estimate for any services that you are encountering at Bronson, phone number is right there as well. So with that being said, we had a couple more thank yous come through in the chat. A couple of really great yummy recipes that people are excited to try. And just thank you so much for the good information and for the recipes to take away.
I love that people are saying that they're going to try them tonight, because I just happen to might have some tonight too. I'm going to have plenty of leftovers.
All right. Well, thank you everybody so much for joining us. We hope you had a wonderful time and learned some information. Feel free to contact us with any questions, and we hope to see you at our next class.
Thank you all.